Okay, let me see. I have four hands up. Okay, let's take it in order. Okay, just brief and to the point.
Very briefly, I think if you already recognize the resistance or reluctance to share, whether it's cultural or otherwise, everything becomes cultural in some ways, is to validate the discomfort, is to acknowledge the difficulty in hearing that they could be doing something wrong. It's really to go from a strength-based approach as opposed to something is wrong with you. Maybe a disclosure by yourself saying that, you know what, I was also brought up this way, but I had to change my ways. What did I do with my children for their own betterment? Because I want my children to have a better life than I did. So it could be a combination of validating, strength-based approach, and a disclosure. I've been through this, or I have seen this kind of thing.
Good, yes.
Um,
Rydra.
Yeah,
Now I got it right.
sorry. So I think part of that discomfort is that the school is telling this family to come in, right? To say, well, you need, like, they're getting kind of this external demand put on them to go in and seek help, which might be culturally discomforting for them, or it might just be discomforting to be told by somebody, well, you need to go seek help, right? So I would try to figure out how to align, not getting between like the school and the child, but trying to be like, so this is what the school is wanting you to do, and sort of engaging the client in a way to, how do we work with you to kind of get the school out of the picture again, right? So if they want this, what do we need to start showing the school to show that it's working? Am I being clear? Like it's sort of trying to meet in the middle.
Okay. Okay, one more and then I'll.
So I just wanted to piggyback what Renee was saying around what's important to the family, because sometimes, you know, when we talk through their lens, it's easier for them to say, okay, so for example, I had a client the other day, I need to get her to the hospital, and whatever I was saying for some reason wasn't working, and I'm like, hold on for a minute, you know, your boyfriend would want, you know what I mean? Because her boyfriend was, you know, that's all she saw. So to go back from where they see it, so you know what, this is important to you, I can appreciate that, but let's look at what's happening. In this area, this is working, but this might not be working. So, you know, see that education is important. How can we work on that together? I don't know, just an idea.
Okay, Sharon.
Just back to the cultural differences, and you know, Western culture is more individualistic, and it's important. And then also the multicultural, what you said before is it's more like a collective whole. So what's interesting is this culture is trying to come into a Western culture where it's back to the individualistic, study hard, get good grades, just do well, worry about your career, and this is what they have for their child. It's not, the social part is not important to them, possibly. I mean, maybe it is, but this might be a family where it is, and it's all about advancing your career and preparing your child to get ready for that. So it doesn't matter if they don't have friends or they don't play. So back to the collective whole is, then you might have to relate to the family to that. If it's important, it may not be important.
it's education to bring what is for different countries is how here for you know slowly
Right? What is another one? Somebody? Where do we proceed from there, Patty?
Well, depending on if they're willing to do this or not. But I think that some people had mentioned that the parents don't do any interaction together. So it may be important for the parents to maybe think about what it is that they could do to get together and what then could they maybe do with their kids together.
So that is
Like modeling.
so yeah
reality, isn't it?
it's the baby steps of doing that.
It has to be baby steps. It has to find an opening.
Yeah.
Well, where the self-disclosure, now Rita mentioned a little bit. Now in this plan, where would you place yourself? How would you use yourself? I do not have kids who do not want to play. My kid is so social, so I don't think I could do that. And I don't farm my kids out in different households, so I cannot disclose because I have nothing to disclose.
I'm an immigrant, but
What do I use as a tool in counseling in this situation?
You need to learn. I think it's okay to tell people, can you help me understand? Because I'm validating and recognizing that we have differences and I'm interested.
And that's what go back to our first lesson. You have to be honest and transparent and not have a chip on the shoulder and say, oh my gosh, I don't know, but I could imagine what it would be like. You wouldn't be real, would you?
No.
You have to be saying, oh, this is the first time I heard about this. Or you say, well, I really wish I can be in your shoe. Can you help me to put myself in your shoe? What might be the most difficult obstacle that I have to overcome or anything that I need to understand? Right? So what you are doing, you're hooking the mom into more. It's easy to work with kids, right? Kids are so, innately they want to play. Innately they want to relate. Innately what they want to grow. They want to learn more things. They want to be interacting with their environment. But what is preventing them from doing this? Is the structure of the family, isn't it? So this is a very unusual cultural background for these kids to be growing up in. You got love, you got care, you got all the basic needs met. But what's missing, as you all mentioned, is the emotional stability, discovery of self, relational, skills. All they know is in the box.
I think that the piece that you just mentioned about just being honest and transparent is critical, because in building, trust in the relationship, because if they continue to see you as somebody who is telling them they're doing something wrong, or approaching them as if, hey, this is the right way and you're going wrong, it's gonna be defeating the whole counseling process. So I think just being that transparent with them, and as you rightly said, pulling them in and helping them to understand that, yeah, I don't get it, you're helping me to get it so we can work together. So stressing the collaborative approach, right, in that relationship, I think that's the only way you're going to reach them anyway.
So the open door was, the school requires counseling. Thank the schools for that. And then you have to be able to navigate in an area that is least resistant, right? So what is the least resistance? Is helping the kids to succeed, so that they don't get all these notes from teachers, phone calls from the guidance and everything else, right? So it is so important to have opening and to say, okay, I don't know very much about what's going on, but I need your support. And your support is very important, you see? So you have to be open, and you have to be smart enough to look at which area. You might have to bump into a couple openings, but they might be blocked, but find the least resistance. And to say, they like that, let's pursue, right? Yes.
If I can just comment, because as everyone was kind of speaking, and thinking about what it would be like to get that referral from the school and saying, to hear, children don't socialize, however they sum it up. And I was thinking, maybe looking at that referral and being more curious about it, opposed to saying, well, what's the problem with this? Or looking at the behavior as problematic, and just being like, in that openness of being like curious about what is it, and wanting to understand more, opposed to saying that behavior is problematic or wrong, because if the school hadn't required it, that family wouldn't have identified that as an issue in that present sense, right?
So you go from, instead of saying, oh, poor children, or you didn't do well, you always, like Rita said, we go for the positives. It was a good thing that they refer. And can you imagine what it's like when the kids go to 13, 14 adolescence, and it will be too late, wouldn't it? Yeah. And also we say, well, I don't know what I can do, but I do my very best. And here it says, you see, the tension, mistrust. Well, let's talk about, you have to be very sensitive to know where they're coming from. You could ask a little bit about the background if they want to tell you. See, never impose yourself, because some of the people are just not quite ready to tell you the truth. So you say, well, is there anything you can tell me that might help me understand what that problem, stemmed from? Okay, so then, what do you think of that? Disclosing credentials to establish authority.
In this case,
Yes.
no. I'd be wanting to empower the mom or the dad.
You don't want to say, I'm a Ph.D. in child psychology, you know, right? And then you're the expert, so you fix them, right? When people refer children, the first thing they say, you fix them. Yes.
Certainly, and sometimes too, what these parents are doing, they think that's love for their kids. You know, like I took my son to the tutor one day, right? And he was leaving, and then she says to me, "Oh, he needs some love." And I got a little defensive because here's this only kid that gets every single thing. So as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, hold on for a second. That's no different than when I felt defensive that when that lady said to me, he needs some love. Lady, I give this kid everything. He's an only child. What more could he want?
Too much of a good thing.
So for me, if I were that parent, I would think, oh my God, like, what else am I
You
not
see,
doing,
this
you
is
know?
why when we talk about love, it's a global sense and abstract love, you know? And how do you translate love in the context so that the recipients realize that was love, right? And I just last night I told Paul, I said, you know what? You used to use a lot of love language and written in letters. I got a whole box of them. And I said, now I guess you express your love in actions. And he said, you're going to embarrass me, and you are going. And he also demands that. I said, well, you're subtly, right? I mean, love manifested in so many different ways. But you